My friend Paul sent me a copy of his magic source library to try out, so I figured I'd have some fun, design a little dark magic spell cast using his recordings. I was trying to subvert some tropes here, mainly that dark magic frequently uses whispery vocals, a lot of noise, or dissonant tonal elements. So I took it in my own direction, and it ended up sounding maybe too space magic-y, but it is what it is. So I started off by going through the library and pulling some recordings that I felt like had some potential to them. We can take a quick listen. I had a bunch of cloth recordings here. Then we got some natural sort of impact source, some pillow hits. And some fireworks. And we also got a bunch of paper and plastic movement. Then from there I knew I was going to need some impacts, some sustained textures, some whooshes, all the building blocks for my final design, so I started pulling samples from his source and throwing it through some of my effects chains for inspiration. This first one I called Impact Grain Modulator, and it went like this. The raw recording was pillow hits in this case. Pretty interesting looking back. I added 20 dB of gain here, 15 dB of gain here, another 20 here. So what? It's like 55 dB of gain in total. Totally necessary. Then I just let it run and grabbed some choice snippets on this track above. This next one is called Spintrace Sweep. Looks like I used the paper sticker hand manipulation as the source. And then again, I just grabbed the favorite little snippets as I was fooling around with it. Then for this next one, I called it Gut Puncher, and I used some of the keg muffled explosive liquid slosh and some of the fireworks as well, and built this chain on top of it. Next one I called Paper Sticker Grain Crinkler. We use the paper sticker stuff. For a lot of these, I ended up adding Spintracer into them just to get some more movement. I'm not going to keep playing back these glued recordings for you because I think you get the idea. It's just me playing around, then I bounced it. This next one I called Phasemorph. We use some of the leather creaking source. This next one is Balloon Modulator. That's what I called it. This uses the Balloon Mylar Rub Crackle source. It's also, by the way, I forgot to mention, some of these are stretched out. This one is 0.5 speed. And it looks like one of these variations, when I was bouncing it, I really enjoyed because I put a little smiley face marker on it. And I have no idea how I did that. Usually they don't have anything next to them. Yeah, I think that became a key part of the final design. It's a good thing I left myself a little marker there to remember it. Wish I could tell you how I did that, but I don't know. To leave the... I guess part of the process that I did do is when I was listening back and I was like, ooh, that was a cool variation. I'd use the add take marker action to add a little marker there, you see? So you can see later. Maybe if I just put a smiley face, does that do it? That does it! There you go! What if you put a frowny face? Aww. Love it. This next one I called Fluid Spintrace. I used... You're going to see it's like a lot of the same plugins, but I just shuffle them around in different orders to get different results. And yes, was paper sticker hand manipulation, some of the cloth movement stuff, leather creaks. I think I just chucked it all through here. Z-Noise is doing the thing it always does where it rings whenever I try and record it. For these breakdown sessions, I'll play some of the actual recordings for you to hear how that sounded. Much cooler when Z-Noise isn't doing that horrible thing. Then this next one I called Grumbler. We're using the pillow hit poofs. That was a poor source sound to show it as an example, so I'm just going to show you this other sound. This was Cloth Impact Whip Foam Punchy, and this is with the chain. Then for this next one, this is actually pretty interesting. So I took everything that we've heard so far, all these like little glued bounces from the various effects chains, they're all sort of like layered on top of each other in the session. So what I did is I just played them back just as they sort of were, like this. I'd like jump around at different points in the session. And it was just as all the different layers happened to stack up on each other. And then I grabbed it using the MVK Create thing. So I have just the random mixdowns of all the different design layers so far. And I just dropped them into this track. And then I proceeded to process it from there. I'm going to start by playing the various mixdowns that I grabbed for this. That one sounded like it had some raw recordings in there with the fireworks and the leather creaking as well. It's just random shit, right? So I figured out a cool new thing where I added automation to the shift and speed controls by just doing, parameter modulation. I'll turn it off for a quick second. So yeah, it basically took all those random mixdown layers and turned them into fresh new impacts. And then with the parameter automation going, it just has like a interesting... And then finally, at the end of it all, I found that my sounds were just a little bit too clean. I don't know. I needed some noisy whooshes to wrap up the design and sort of fill things out a little bit. So I used the paper stuff again. So I guess of note here, I had a couple different Dopplers layered on top of each other. You're kind of at the mercy of them lining up to actually get a sound that doesn't have a gap of silence in the middle. But if you can get that to work, then they do have some pretty sweet, it just adds lots of cool, interesting motion. So from there, as I approached the actual design phase, I just grabbed all my favorite bits from those various bounces and sort of stacked them up on top of each other. There's Mr. Smiley Face. And yeah, I knew I wanted to create sort of like a spell cast and impact with like some projectile movement in between, maybe, you know, classic formula. So I just started layering stuff up and seeing what felt right, and shifting stuff around and find my cadence. And then finally I did the mastering. So I'm just going to do the layer breakdown for you. There wasn't too much processing going on, mostly just high pass filters, but I'll show you. And I'll point to the palette source that I pulled from here for each one. So for this first layer, we got the Chamois Spintrace Sweeper. This is the Spintrace Sweeper I showed you earlier, just with a little high pass filter on it. Then we got the Balloon Modulator, again, with a high pass filter. Then we got the Phasemorph. This has a high shelf, dynamic high shelf. And you can also see on the actual item itself, I have a high pass filter. It's being pulled up over time. Shout outs to Stephen Chapler for showing me this. You can automate item effects and show the little automation lane on the item if you touch the control and then go to show media take item envelope. Bam, shows it in a brand new lane right below. Then for this next one, we got the Traveler Mixdown stuff. You're going to see a lot of this. And I just put a transient designer to take out some of the punch. Then for this next layer, we got the Traveler Automated Crunchy Mixdown with another high shelf doing some reduction. Then we got the Spintrace Sweeper again, this time with both a high shelf and a high pass. And we got the Traveler Mixdown. This is more punchy stuff. I just did some transient shaping on it to take out some of the harshness. And I'm just going to rearrange these things a little bit so it makes more sense. Then we got some of the fluid spin tracer things. And this had, again, high pass filter. And the Grumbler with a low shelf doing some dynamic low end reduction. And we can take a listen to all that stuff so far. So that's sort of like the initial cast, right? And just because you're like, why are you using so many high pass filters? It's because I guess it's a bad habit. I don't know. So I need low end a lot, and it also sounds good to have low end as I'm going through the palette creation, source creation phase. But I usually just don't end up needing it when I'm actually doing the design, except for some choice locations. So I am generous with my low end in the creation phase, and then more strict with it when I'm actually doing the design. So anyways, this next layer is a little lead in. We use the noisy whoosh here, the high shelf. Then the Mixdown Traveler stuff again. This is just as it is. Cool movement in there. We got the paper sticker grain Crinkler. Again, that was just as it is. Fluid spin tracer. Honestly, that probably should have been high passed, and I'm just gonna do it right now because it should have been. Yeah, look, without it, it's like all that 37 hertz. Most people are not even going to hear 37 hertz. They've got the Traveler Automated Crunchy Mixdown. Again, I probably could have been better with the low end there. Whatever. And we got this the little snippet from the Impact Grain Modulated Snap. Just don't look at that. So all those lead-in layers go something like this. Oh, ignore that last one. But that's a good segue, because that takes us into the actual last little transient explosion thing that we made. First layer is the Gut Punch. This has a little high shelf reduction. Probably didn't need to be dynamic, but whatever. The Balloon Modulator. Then we got the Mixdown Traveler once more. This has a automated low pass filter as well as some stereo width control. just to take out the low end over time again. Sorry, take out the high end over time for the decay. And then we got Spintrace Sweep over here with high pass filter. And so this is saturating the low end and then removing the actual low end. It's like generating overtones for the subharmonics, right? Sorry, not subharmonics. I don't know why I said that, but you know what it's doing. I'm showing you right here. And then we got the Grumbler. And I believe we're doing some little like high mid reduction here. Okay, cool. Let's listen to all those final impact layers together. I like the cadence of this transient. I think both of the transients, both in the cast and the impact here, have like nice little multi-hits to them that make it a little more interesting. So all together, for the mastering, we have this.